Hey, good girls and fellas, praying that you're having a great day, praying that all is indeed well. Listen, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the For the Good Girls blog. Thank you so much for being here. If this is your very first time visiting my blog, I would like to say welcome. Welcome to the For the Good Girls blog. I really appreciate you being here. So do me a favor, go ahead and explore my page, look at the previous blogs, and also subscribe to this website so that you can receive all updated notifications when I post a new blog, as well as any upcoming events that I may have in the future. If you are returning, I would like to say welcome back. Thank you so much for your love and your support and your continuous viewing of my blog. I really appreciate it, and I do not take it for granted. So that what I would like for everybody to do is, one, subscribe to my website. Go ahead and go to my website, click that link you see in the bio, and subscribe to my website so that you can get all notifications for all future events and all upcoming blogs. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube page. Yes, I have a YouTube page, which you're actually watching the blog on right now. Please do me a favor, subscribe to that page. Give me a thumbs up, as well as share this with your loved ones. You can email, you can text, and you can also follow me on my official Instagram page. That's For the Good Girls. Again, that's FTGGIRLS. That is my official Instagram page. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and just jump right into our blog for today. As you can see, our title states it is New Arrivals. So that is a segue from what we talked about last week. Last week, just briefly, we discussed early dismissals, getting rid of those things, getting rid of people, getting rid of opportunities, situations that do not serve us any longer, do not belong, things we should have never taken on in the first place. Now, some things, they come to life, they work out for a little while, then all of a sudden they no longer serve us, or things have been brought to our lives that was beyond our control, like when you were a child, or we invited things that we should have never invited in the first place. So now that we have purged all of those things, now it's time to prepare for the new arrival. So we're going to talk about a few valid points with preparing for those new arrivals. So our first point for today is to ask God to fill those empty spaces or help you manage those spaces, those things that are left. So once you go through the early dismissal stage where you're getting rid of things, you're purging things, you're letting things go in your life that no longer serve you or that no longer belong or should have never been there in the first place. So when you do those things, you have empty spaces. So just think about you cleaning out your dresser drawers or your wardrobes, and you're like, you know what? I need to make room because things just don't fit. Clothes is everywhere, all over the place. So you clean out your closet, you clean out your drawers, you go through your shoes, and you get rid of things. And you may have some empty spaces. So you're like, all right, now that I have empty space, you can breathe a little bit because now things are not overwhelming. Everything is in its rightful place. But then after a while, when you see those empty spaces, you think to yourself, okay, I need to fill those spaces up. I need to fill these voids. I need to fill the space that seems empty, that just seems like something belongs there. So to start that off, we have to pray and talk to God and say, Lord, what do you want to fill those spaces with? Or if you've purged your life and now you're in a great, like it's like everything's like a great fit. Okay, God, how do I manage the things that are left over, the things that you have left for me to manage? Now, if you have holes that need to be filled, be mindful of, getting to the place of just hurrying up and fill those spaces because you feel empty or you feel lonely. So what I have today is just like an illustration of what they may look like. So I have a bowl of tangerines. These are really good, by the way. I got these from the Produce Junction and they're amazing. But anyway, I have a bowl here full of tangerines. These tangerines represent things in our lives that we've placed there, things that we've allowed other people to place, where we've taken on tasks or we've taken on other people's traumas or their burdens that we did not need to carry. So I also have a picture of water here. So the water in this container, if you haven't already guessed it, represents God. So the bowl represents us. The tangerine represents the things that we have allowed in our life that doesn't belong, and this water represents God. So say if you're in you're living life, you have your issues or your things, and you have God. So you have God in your life. He's what we think he's full in our lives, we believe, you know, amongst all these things that we have in our lives, okay, God is full. So as you can see, it's full to the brim. It's full to the brim there. So what do we do? So when we going through the early dismissal stage, this is what it looks like before we get to purging. So we're full of God, we're full of our stuff, and we think we're feeling good, but as you can see in there, there's not much room to maneuver anything. So if you can look at the water is transparent, it's clear, it's clean, all of those one things. But those tangerines, it's full of a lot of stuff. It has the skin, it has the stem, it has the seeds, it has the tangerine itself, it has those lines, it has the flavor. It's packed with a lot of things. And a lot of things that we bring in our lives, that's what it looks like. This is what now, it may look wonderful when it's presented to us. Then after a while, we just notice it's just taking up too much room. So say, okay, you know what? I need to purge, Lord. I need to get rid of some things in my life. So you take this first thing. This first thing, we're going to name it the X. The ex that should have never came along, the ex that we should have never invited in, the ex that is very toxic, the ex that just does not support us, does not take care of us, does not love us the way that we deserve to be loved. So you know what? I need to purge you. Ex, you got to go. Then we take on this. This is all of our fear, our anxiety, our worry, our strife, the voices in our head that keep telling us that we can't make it, that we can't do it, that we would never be anything. That's what this represents. You know what? You no longer serve me. I don't want to live that life anymore. I am beautifully and wonderfully made. I know who it is that God created me. So you have to go. This next one is a tricky one, or it's more of an intense one, I would say. This is the childhood trauma, the things that we don't deal with, the things that we have buried, the things that we were told to bury, the things that we were told to just go ahead and hide it because, you know, you just can't show people, you can't let people see you sweat. Nobody needs to know that. I need to purge that because it's destroying my life from the inside out. You know what? You no longer serve me. I give you to God. You got to go. And this last thing, we're going to leave this last one here because sometimes we don't know how to fully purge. So there's always sometimes some residue left over or something that's left over that can be fixed, or that God will help us to purge. It may be a little bit heavier that we don't know how to purge. So we're going to leave that one there. So if you notice, your life is a little bit more clearer. You can see from one side of the bowl to the next. And guess what? There's room. There's plenty of room between where God is and in our life. So we purge, we feel great, we feel wonderful. We start praying more, we start reading more, we start fasting, we start doing all the things that God wants us to do. So we get more and more and more and more and more and more of God. Yes, I'm full of God. I still got some stuff. I got some things I need to deal with, but I got more and more of God. God is filled to the brim. He could use a little bit more room if I got rid of that one thing. But you know, God, you ain't through with me yet. There's some things that I still need to work on, but you can still see me clearly. I'm praying more. I'm at peace. All those wonderful things. And this is what happens. We start to feel empty. It's too clear for us. It's too clean for us. My life is now boring because I've gotten rid of all those things that excited me. So we were like, you know what? X, you weren't as bad as I thought you were. So I think I might give you another chance. So I'm gonna just invite you back in. You know, God is still there, but I'm gonna just let you back in just for a little bit. And then we take that fear and anxiety and we don't know what to do with it. The things that we turned over to God, we've taken back. We no longer believe that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So we take that fear and anxiety and those worries and those voices and we place them back in our lives. God is still there, but we place them back in. And then that childhood trauma or whatever the vices are for you, that childhood trauma, you know, that's starting to creep back in. I'm starting to believe what they said I was. I'm starting to feel the same way they made me feel. I'm feeling incompetent, feeling like I'm not worthy. I invite those things back in. And I don't know if y'all can see that, but the water started pouring out. And when the water starts pouring out, that means we're giving little room for God to exist, because we have so much of those things that don't belong, so much of those things that we want to hold on to, and it's over, like we're giving less and less room to God because we invited those things back into our lives. So as you can see, and it's still pouring all over my hands and it's getting on my floor and my pants. So I'm gonna put this there. But you get the idea. You get the idea that I have a towel over here. You get the idea, and some tissue, that when you purge those things out of your life, you're free, you give God more room. And then when you invite those things back in, you are pushing God out. So we have to learn that when we purge, when we get rid of things, we have to immediately run to God and say, Lord, where do you want those things to fit into my life? Where do you want them to reside? What do you want for me? Because those things that I pick for me are not for me. Because I can honestly tell you, and I'm, as a single woman, I understand this. I understand that even though I'm not in a relationship, I know what God had promised me. I know the type of husband that God has for me. And I had to stop settling for less, because I'm in a different space in my life and a different mindset in my life right now, where I won't even allow a man to approach me even in the wrong way. Hey, how you doing? But you can go back over there, because nope, that's not for me. You can't talk to me a certain way. You can't treat me however you feel like treating me. I know what I deserve, because I am a child of God, and he told me God treats me this way, so you're going to have to step up your game, sir. So y'all just can't approach me any old kind of way. But back to what I was saying, I've gotten to a place in my life where I know what it is that God has for me. So when I purge those things, I'm just like, our Lord, listen, you have all the room in the world to place things that belong to me, things that I need, things that are especially designed for me. And when God gives you those things, whether it's a husband, a wife, an opportunity, a career, a job, they will never push God out. You won't ever have to deal with that overflow. You will never have to somebody coming into your life that God sent you, and it looks like this, where your traumatic spaces are fighting with the space of God. That would never happen. That would never happen. That bowl will be empty. Now, everybody comes with their things. But if you work together, you pray together, you fast, you read his word, your life will look so much better. What it looked like when it only had one tangerine in there. Because, sometimes we struggle with a lot of things. But it will be less and less gunk if we follow God's directions and seek him for our new arrivals. So our second point is having an open heart and mind to receive what it is that God has for us. In Luke chapter 18, verse 27, it says, but he said, the things which are impossible with men are possible with God. You have to have an open mind and an open heart that what God has for you is possible. Don't think that once you purge those things that, that's what your life is going to be. It's going to feel like it's empty. No, God, if you believe that God gave you a promise, God is going to fulfill his promise. He is not a man that he should lie. God is not a liar. God is not a person who backpedals. He is not us. God is never going to backpedal in his word. He's always going to stand firm on what he says, and he's always going to fulfill his promise that he set before us. Anything that God has promised us, as long as we remain faithful and dedicated and committed to him, we will receive the promises. We will receive what it is that God has for us. So you have to have an open mindset, open hands, open arms, open thought process, open heart, open spirit, that God is going to give us those things that he's promised us. So just have an open mindset when it comes to when you get prepared for those new arrivals, because what God has for you is for you. You just got to be diligent. You got to be prayerful. You got to be patient. Oh my God, you got to be patient. I have learned to be patient because I wasn't patient. I'm like, all right, God, he cute. He said hi to me. He go to church. He say he a Christian. We can make this work. Months and years later, it didn't work out. And listen, don't get caught up. Oh, they a preacher and they serve on this board. They do all. Don't get caught up in that stuff, because I've talked to preachers before. I've talked to people who were musicians, like men who were musicians. I've talked to men in high positions, and trust and believe, they have those statuses too. So don't get caught up on titles. Listen, sometimes what we looking for and what we think we want is the total opposite of what God has for us. So be patient with what it is that God has for you. And the last one is just believe. Just believe in God and what he says he's going to do. I wrote this down. We believe in God, but do we believe God when he says he's going to do something? Again, I'll say we believe in God, but do we believe God when he says he's going to do something? You have to believe that God said he's going to do it. You're going to have to believe that God is going to fulfill his promise. You're going to have to believe that there will be new arrivals in your life. If you are still living, breathing God's wonderful air, trust me, he is not through with you yet. If that was the case, you'd be laid up in somebody's morgue or in somebody's grave. So trust and believe that when you wake up in the morning, that's another opportunity for God to use you. And it may not be the way that you see it. And I think that's one of the things that we struggle with, that we always want to, and I know, okay, I'll speak for myself. What I struggled with was I was afraid of the unknown, not knowing who my mate was, not knowing what the next step is, not knowing what the end result is going to be. And God's like, listen, you're just going to have to trust me. You're just going to have to trust me, because what you see is not what I see. I can see so far beyond what it is that your human mind can comprehend. So, and I'm really a living testimony of what that looks like, even in my career right now. I am in a position at my job that I never thought that I would be in my entire life. In the 15 years that I have been an executive administrative assistant, I did not know that I would be in the position that I'm in now. Sitting, and this is not to boast that the people that I've connected to, sitting at the table with CEOs, meetings with senators, going to events and getting to know people, networking with people, rubbing elbows with people, having conversations, being invited to events. I went to an event this past Monday, networked with some people, shook some hands with people, nice to people, just smiled, told them how great they look. A person turned around and invited me to another event just because I was, listen, just being in the right position, just doing what it is that God has called you to do and following his path, it will blow your mind. And that is no different for any other area of your life. So just please do what it is that God told you to do. Seek his face, read his word, pray to him, and follow his specific instructions. So that's what I have for you guys today in reference to your new arrivals. That's all I wanted to tell you. I wanted to just give you that because I believe that it will be helpful and just it will be more fulfilling for our lives if we just apply what it is that God told us to do. I just thank y'all. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all, and I will talk to you all soon. I love you. Bye.